Welcome back, prop builders. I'm going to show you guys how to do money stacks this time around. I'm going to show you how to do regular money stacks, weathered money stacks that don't come apart, and also individual bills. So let's just get on into this, and we're going to head to the computer right now. Okay, now that we're on the computer, the next step that we're going to do is open up our search engine, which I just went on to Google, and as you can see, I just typed in $100 bills. If you do want to do other currencies, just search for the currency that you want to do, and we're going to try to pick the higher resolution. The higher the resolution, the better your print's going to come out. So I'm going to just choose this one. I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this screen, and we're going to go to our Microsoft Word. And as you can see, I already have one in here sized and ready to go. I like to already figure out the size for one, and then I'll come back and then resize the other one. So all we're going to do is tap our cursor in there and then paste our image that we got. And as you can see, this is way bigger than what it originally was. And how I did this, I put my screen onto 100% in my Microsoft Word, so you can see the actual size of the image when you're going to print it out. And now all we're going to do is we're going to just resize it. We're going to click right onto it, and then it's going to let you resize your photo. And it's very simple. I do this for my signs as well as the money. And another thing I want to mention, if you guys are going to plan to make money and make money props to sell, make sure you do get permission from the owner, whoever the image is from, so you could sell it, because it is their art, it is their their work that they put into it to make the scans and everything. So it's always good to get permission. And the other thing I want to mention, the sizing that I like using is the width should be 1.25, and then the height I use is 0.75. And that's the kind of the scale that I go with, that kind of fits into the Marvel Legends and the import figures. But after you get your money sized correctly the way you want it, which I'm doing right now, a little bit more, around there. And then all I like to do is just highlight these, and then you could go ahead and copy and paste multiple times. So I'll copy, drop my cursor back down, and then I could go ahead and paste. And then I could just keep doing this and make a whole sheet of them, and then I could sit down with my scissors, which we're going to go back to. We're going to cut some of these out, and then I'll show you guys the fastest way to glue them down, and a couple other tips. So we're going to get back to the table. All right, now that we're back at the table, there's two ways that you guys could do this. You guys could make them individually, and you can have individual bills and then have them in a stack, or you could just make a regular prop that has no individual bills but it looks like a stack of cash. So I'll show you both ways right now. We have our money already resized. This is the print I've been using, but you guys could use the print that I showed you guys how to change the size or even find a different currency to do. But this way I didn't cut in the middle of this, so I could just fold it over, and you could just do that by hand. Let me pick this up. You can do it by hand, or what I like to do is grab a ruler and find the seam and then just bend it over so you get a cleaner fold. And you could use Elmer's glue to glue this together so you can have your individual bill. I just like using this super glue because it has a brush, and I could just brush it on a little dot of super glue on there, and it dries really quick, and I could get through a lot of these pretty fast. So just put some super glue on there. And you want to be careful not to use too much, because you can make your ink bleed depending on what kind of printer you're using. Just push tight, and there you go, you have one individual bill. And like I said earlier when I was showing you guys on the computer, you could just sit down, watch TV, and cut a bunch of these out and then put them into stacks. The other way I like doing it is where it's just a stack of cash, there's no individual bills. So what I end up doing is cutting out these tiny squares or rectangles. They're the same size as the bill, and I just cut out 9 of these, and then I'm just going to glue them together with the super glue. And I'll come right back and we'll get to the next step. Alright, now that we have those cardstock pieces that were the same size as the bills glued together, Like I said again, there's 9 pieces of them glued together, and now all we're going to do is grab the face of a bill and a back of the bill and then super glue it on the front and back, which I'll do right now on camera for you guys. Just adding a little bit of super glue. And be careful, don't get your finger stuck on this. That would really suck. Just want to line it up, put it on there. Make sure it's lined up because there's really little room for error, especially when you're using super glue. If you use Elmer's glue, you have a little bit more time to work with it. Now we're just going to flip it over, make sure it's on the right side. Apply a little bit more super glue. And then place our bill right on there evenly. And then if the papers are not lining up, because you are going to be cutting them by hand, it's not going to be perfectly straight, you could grab your trusty nail file that I like using in all my projects and just straighten out all the edges from there. And then like with money, it's not pure white on the side, so what I like doing is grabbing some soft chalk pastels, and I just mix a little bit of green and yellow together, and I just dust the sides of it just to give it some tint. You're going to want to go pretty dark to match your actual bills. So I'm going to finish coloring this up with the chalk pastel, and then I'll come back and I'll show you guys how to put the band on here. Alright, now that I have all the weathering done with the chalk pastel on the sides so it looks a little bit more realistic, we're going to put the band on here. And for this particular size bill, which is around the 1/12 scale, the band that I like to cut out is 5 millimeters wide and then 1.5 inches long, so it'll give you a little bit extra slack to wrap it around and then snip off the parts that you don't need. So all we're going to do is grab our bill and turn it onto its side. We're going to grab our trusty super glue and just put a nice dab of super glue right there. Then we're going to grab our band and carefully press it on there without getting our fingers stuck. And you want to make sure it's covering right in the middle, like that. And then we're just going to wrap it all the way around after the super glue has set. And then we're going to go back to where we put the super glue in the beginning. And we're just going to do another generous dot of super glue right there. And then you could apply your band right on it. And try not to get your fingers stuck, like I said before. Make sure it's nice and dry. Make sure it's nice and dry, and now that it's dry, I just like using a piece of scrap foam and then just putting it on there and grabbing my X-Acto blade and just getting a clean cut right there. And there you go, there's a money stack right there, all weathered on the side so it's not white. Like I said, you could choose the colors that you want to use for the chalk pastels on the side just to make it look a little bit more realistic. And then the last step that I do, I usually, after I make a bunch of these, I get my clear coat and I spray it on there and make sure the chalk doesn't smear anywhere. Keeps it nice and sealed and nice and put together. So you could just make about as many as you want of these. This one's, like I said, it's not individuals, it's just one solid piece. You could just put it in a bag or on a table. And like I said with the other one, which is right here, you can make individual of these and then put them in a stack and then put a band around it. Whatever you guys want to do, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. And remember to leave a like, a comment, and don't forget to hit that sexy subscribe button. Oops. Good thing the cap was on that.